The research vessel Horizon drifted silently through the vast emptiness of deep space, its sleek metallic hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside the main research chamber, J1 hunched over a collection of ancient data crystals, his breath caught in his throat with each careful movement. These weren't ordinary artifacts. They were fragments of a history most believed to be nothing more than a myth. Traces of a species called humans. Generations of researchers had dismissed them as nothing more than a fairy tale, a legend whispered among space explorers during long, lonely journeys. The holographic display flickered and danced, casting blue-green shadows across J1's concentrated face. His fingers, steady despite his racing heart, manipulated the delicate data crystals with precision. Each crystal was a puzzle piece, fragmented and incomplete, but holding secrets that could rewrite everything known about galactic history. Bits of information began to assemble, technological schematics that seemed impossible for their supposed time period. Survival records from environments that should have been unsurvivable. Genetic modification data that suggested an extraordinary level of adaptability far beyond any known species. J1 remembered the stories his grandfather used to tell him during long nights on their research station. Tales of a species so remarkable, so resilient, that they had been intentionally erased from official records. Most scholars had laughed, calling such stories nonsense. But J1 had always believed there was more to the universe than what official databases claimed. The crystal in his left hand suddenly pulsed with a soft blue light. A fragment of video data began to play, grainy and distorted, but unmistakably showing beings that matched human descriptions. They moved with a purpose, their technology seemingly cobbled together from impossible resources, surviving in environments that would have killed any other known life form. A sound escaped J1's lips, part gasp, part laugh. This was more than just a discovery. This was potential proof of a civilization that had been forgotten, intentionally hidden, or perhaps deliberately concealed. The research vessel's artificial intelligence, detecting J1's elevated heart rate, softly inquired, "Researcher Kim, are you experiencing medical distress?" "No," J1 whispered, his eyes never leaving the holographic display. "I'm experiencing something much bigger." Outside the research chamber, the universe continued its endless dance. Stars burned, galaxies spun, and somewhere in the vast cosmic tapestry, the remnants of a legendary species waited to be fully understood. J1 knew that what he was seeing was just the beginning. These data crystals were telling a story of survival, of adaptation, of a species that refused to be forgotten. Humans were more than a myth. They were a mystery waiting to be solved. As the holographic display continued to reveal its secrets, J1 felt a sense of anticipation building. Something extraordinary was about to be revealed, something that would change everything humanity, and every other known species, understood about existence itself. The data crystal pulsed again, as if alive, promising more revelations to come. The massive research ship cut through the dark expanse of the Andromeda sector, its sensors constantly scanning the surrounding space. Hai-Jin sat at her monitoring station, her eyes half closed from hours of monotonous scanning. Most days were nothing but endless darkness and static signals. Suddenly, a ping broke the silence. Her scanner displayed an unusual reading, a signal that didn't match any known spacecraft signature. Most researchers would have dismissed it, but something about this anomaly made Hai-Jin lean forward. The coordinates revealed a massive object floating among the cosmic debris. As they approached, the initial scans left the entire research team breathless. This was no ordinary derelict spacecraft. Its hull seemed to have a life of its own, with surface patterns that shifted and realigned like living tissue. "Impossible," muttered the ship's chief engineer, standing behind Hai-Jin. The spacecraft's material appeared to be healing itself. Where there should have been damage or wear, the surface simply reconstructed. Microfractures would close within seconds, creating a seamless exterior that defied all known technological understanding. Hai-Jin initiated a comprehensive scan. The ship's design was unlike anything in their galactic archives. Its structural integrity suggested technology centuries beyond current scientific capabilities. Layers of material seemed to communicate with each other, adapting and responding to environmental changes with an intelligence that bordered on organic behavior. The research team watched in stunned silence as detailed images appeared on their screens. Complex geometric patterns covered the spacecraft's exterior, each line and curve suggesting a purpose far more sophisticated than simple engineering. It was as if the ship itself was a living organism, designed to survive and adapt in the harshest cosmic conditions. "We need to get closer," Hai-Jin announced, her voice steady despite the excitement racing through her body. Every researcher's dream was to discover something truly unprecedented, and this felt like that moment. As their research vessel approached, the derelict spacecraft seemed to respond. Subtle energy signatures flickered around its hull, creating a protective field that was both a warning and an invitation. It was technology that suggested intelligence, planning, and a level of scientific advancement that could rewrite everything they knew about spacecraft design. The chief engineer's instruments began recording data points that made no scientific sense. Materials that could self-repair, structural designs that anticipated and neutralized potential damage, energy systems that seemed to draw power from the surrounding space itself. "This isn't just a ship," the engineer whispered. "This is something else entirely." Hai-Jin knew they were looking at more than a technological marvel. This was evidence of a civilization that understood technology in a way no current species could comprehend. A civilization that could design machines that were almost alive, that could think and adapt and survive. The scanner continued to pulse, revealing layer after layer of complexity. Each new discovery raised more questions than answers. Who built this spacecraft? What happened to its creators? And most importantly, what other secrets might be hidden within its mysterious hull? As the research team prepared for a closer investigation, the spacecraft remained suspended in space, silent, waiting, holding centuries of untold stories within its adaptive, living structure. Something extraordinary was about to be discovered, and Hai-Jin knew they were standing at the edge of a revelation that could change everything they understood about technology, evolution, and the potential of intelligent life in the universe. The scanner continued to ping. The mysterious spacecraft waited. The stasis chamber hummed with an energy that felt both ancient and alive. Researchers had discovered the sealed unit within the mysterious spacecraft, its design unlike anything in their current technological archives. Most expected it to contain nothing more than historical artifacts or possibly preserved biological samples. When the chamber's seal began to break, nobody was prepared for what would happen next. Soft white light leaked from the edges, and a gentle mist started to dissipate. The research team stood frozen, their scanning equipment capturing every microscopic detail. The chamber's internal temperature stabilized quickly, suggesting an advanced temperature regulation system far beyond current engineering capabilities. A hand moved first, then a finger. Then slowly, deliberately, a figure began to emerge. Dr. David Kim took his first breath in what might have been centuries. His eyes, clear and focused, swept across the room with an awareness that defied all expectations. The researchers noticed something immediately different about him. His skin seemed to shimmer slightly, as if thousands of microscopic systems were constantly adjusting and monitoring. "Status check," David spoke, his voice calm and precise. The words were not a question, but a command to some internal system. The research team remained silent, their instruments going wild. Scans revealed something extraordinary. David's cellular structure was nothing like any known biological system. Nanites moved through his body like a complex network, repairing, adapting, and optimizing every single cell in real time. His neural pathways showed impossible complexity. Where a normal human brain might process information in milliseconds, David's brain could analyze complex quantum calculations faster than any supercomputer. Each thought seemed to branch into multiple potential scenarios, evaluating and discarding potential outcomes in fractions of a second. Your technology is interesting, David said, looking at the stunned researchers. His eyes moved across the room, analyzing every single detail, from the material composition of the walls to the electromagnetic frequencies emitted by their equipment. The chief researcher, Dr. Park, finally found her voice. Who are you? What are you? David smiled, a gesture that was both human and something else entirely. I'm a product of human survival. When our civilization realized the challenges of space exploration and potential extinction, we began modifying ourselves, not just to survive, but to evolve. His genetic modifications went beyond simple enhancement. They represented a complete reimagining of human biological potential, an immune system that could adapt to any environment, cellular structures that could repair themselves instantaneously, neural networks that could process information at quantum speeds. We didn't disappear, David continued. We prepared. The research team watched in awe as David moved, each movement calculated and precise. When he touched an instrument, data seemed to flow between his body and the device. When he breathed, the air around him seemed to subtly change composition. He was more than human. He was a living testament to human potential, to the idea that survival meant constant adaptation and transformation. We have much to discuss, David said, his eyes reflecting a knowledge that spanned centuries. And humanity's story is far from over. The stasis chamber stood open, a portal between what was known and what was possible. And Dr. David Kim stood at the center, a bridge between a forgotten past and an unimaginable future. The awakening had begun. The research station's primary conference room buzzed with tension. David stood at the center, surrounded by researchers from multiple alien civilizations, each waiting to understand the mystery of humanity's sudden reappearance. We didn't vanish, David began, his voice calm and measured. We chose to hide. Holographic displays flickered around him, showing fragments of human history that challenged everything these researchers believed. Images of underground cities, adaptive technologies, and survival mechanisms beyond comprehension filled the room. The Krellian chief researcher, a tall blue-skinned being, leaned forward. Explain, he demanded. David's demonstration began with a simple gesture. He touched a small crystalline device, and suddenly the entire room transformed. Quantum communication networks materialized, complex webs of information that could transmit data across impossible distances instantaneously. Humanity realized early that survival meant more than physical strength, David explained. We understood that adaptation was our greatest weapon. The researchers watched in stunned silence as David demonstrated bioadaptive technologies. A small wound on his hand healed within seconds, nanites reconstructing tissue faster than any known medical technology. Complex molecular structures rewrote themselves, showing an evolutionary potential that defied current scientific understanding. Most shocking was the information David shared about human preparation. They hadn't been destroyed. They had deliberately isolated themselves, developing technologies that could reshape entire civilizations. Underground research facilities, hidden space colonies, and genetic modification programs had been running for centuries. We didn't just survive, David said. We prepared for every possible scenario of galactic existence. The quantum communication demonstration left the alien researchers speechless. David could simultaneously communicate across multiple dimensional frequencies, transmitting complex information that would take traditional systems centuries to process. Genetic modifications went beyond simple survival. Humans had transformed themselves into beings that could adapt to any environment, from toxic planetary conditions to deep space vacuum. Their cellular structures could reconstruct themselves, absorb and use radiation as energy, and process information at speeds that seemed impossible. We are not a lost civilization, David continued. We are a civilization that has been waiting, watching, preparing. The Krellian researcher's translator struggled to capture the full complexity of David's explanation. Humanity represented something more than a species. They were a potential evolutionary leap, a civilization that had turned survival into an art form. Quantum communication networks demonstrated by David could potentially connect entire galaxies. Information could travel faster than light, creating communication systems that would revolutionize how different species understood each other. "We have been silent," David said, "but we are not gone." The researchers understood now. Humanity was a sleeping giant, not destroyed, not defeated, but strategically hidden. They had used their time in isolation to develop technologies that could fundamentally change galactic civilization. Bioadaptive engineering meant humans could modify themselves to survive in any condition. Toxic planets, extreme radiation, zero-gravity environments. Nothing was impossible. Their genetic modifications had turned them into living, breathing adaptive machines. As the demonstration concluded, the conference room remained silent. The alien researchers looked at David, and through him, at the potential of an entire species that had been waiting, watching, and preparing. Humanity was back, and nothing would ever be the same. The sleeping giant had awakened. News traveled faster than light in the galactic communication networks. Within days, the story of humanity's return spread across thousands of civilizations, transforming everything they thought they knew about intelligent life. David became the unexpected messenger. Each transmission revealed another layer of human potential. Entire research stations dedicated themselves to understanding the technologies humans had developed during their isolation. Quantum communication networks expanded, connecting worlds that had never spoken to each other before. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered, their traditional hierarchies suddenly meaningless. Humanity was not just another civilization. They were a complete reimagining of what intelligent life could be. Technological demonstrations shocked everyone. Humans had developed adaptive technologies that could transform entire planetary ecosystems. Barren worlds could be terraformed in months, not centuries. Genetic modifications could heal entire populations from devastating diseases in days. "We are not conquerors," David explained during the universal broadcast. "We are problem solvers." Quantum neural networks developed by humans could process complex problems that had stumped galactic scientists for millennia. Climate challenges, energy production, interstellar travel. Humans had been working on solutions while other civilizations argued and competed. The most surprising revelation was humanity's philosophical approach. They hadn't developed these technologies for domination, but for collective survival. Each advancement was designed to help not just humans, but all intelligent life. Research stations across the galaxy began studying human technologies. What seemed like magic was actually the result of centuries of careful strategic development. Humans had turned survival into an art form, transforming biological limitations into opportunities for growth. Planetary governments scrambled to understand this new reality. Humans were not a threat, but they were definitely not ordinary. They represented a quantum leap in evolutionary potential, a species that had turned waiting into a strategic advantage. David continued to explain their history. During their isolation, humans had developed technologies that could communicate with planetary ecosystems, repair environmental damage, and create sustainable living systems. They had become masters of adaptation. The most radical transformation happened in how civilizations viewed themselves. Humans showed that survival was not about competition, but about collaborative evolution. Their technologies were open source, designed to be shared and improved by anyone willing to learn. Genetic modifications meant humans could now survive in environments that would kill other species. Radiation, extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, nothing was impossible. They had turned biological limitations into opportunities for exploration. Communication networks expanded. Quantum entanglement technologies developed by humans allowed instant communication across impossible distances. Civilizations that had been isolated for centuries suddenly found themselves connected. "We are not here to lead," David repeated in multiple broadcasts. "We are here to help humanity and all intelligent life reach its full potential." The galaxy watched and waited. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, but as partners. Their potential was not just technological, but philosophical. They represented a new way of thinking about survival, evolution, and cooperation. Everything was about to change. The sleeping giant had not just awakened. It had transformed the very understanding of what was possible. The end.